Okay, this is going to be kind of an odd video, but it'll be fun. Hear me out, it'll be fun. So I'm an INTP, and this video is meant for other INTPs, especially for younger INTPs or those who are still learning about typology. So, basic concept. I think that because I'm an INTP, my mind works a certain way. And I've heard a simile that the INTP mind is kind of like a library. And I agree, that's a good simile. Occasionally I'll come across a new idea. I'll hear a new idea, and it's kind of like a book. And because I'm the librarian, I will file that book away in a specific location based on the system I'm using to organize the books. In this case, books are organized through similarity. This idea goes next to this idea because they're similar ideas. In that way, I'm able to see where the gaps are on the shelf so that I can go and specifically look for that missing book. And it's a methodical process, and my intention is not necessarily to acquire a large quantity of books. I guess my inclination is to try to create the best possible system of arranging books. Which means trying to make sense of the world or trying to understand things better. And then one thing I say is that the INTP is a judger, obviously, in the sense that they're a dominant thinker. Which is known as like a judging function, but that doesn't really matter. But in this sense that the INTP is a judger, an INTP, at least I do, I judge ideas. I don't judge people. I know some people like ESTJ, who is a judger. They'll judge a person in their entirety, whereas I judge the ideas that they have. So you have particular interests that might be different than mine, and you might have a different system for arranging things in your mind. And as you might already understand, there is a progression of knowledge in pretty much every subject that does not or should not end. Most people only go so far and then stop. That makes me angry. So where I'm at currently regarding the mind of the INTP is that the INTP needs context. Personally, I cannot truly learn anything without also learning the basis for that thing I'm trying to learn, which is virtuous if you're a scientist, because to develop a really strong analysis, you must have a strong foundation. Theories in science often don't have a strong foundation in terms of philosophy, and those are probably just INTJs or something. So I'm working my way backwards along the way, filling in the gaps, and you can keep going backwards to build a stronger understanding of the subject. And at some point in my life, I realized what the ultimate context is for me to base future learning off of. At least for me, the ultimate context is something called ontology, or in other words, metaphysics, or the philosophy of trying to figure out what things are made of. So what's that made of? Oh, that's made of atoms. Okay, well then what are atoms made of? Okay. So that's like there's a science, there's a philosophy called ontology. So if you're an INTP, I guarantee you probably already have some ideas about the subject, or at least a vague interest in the subject already. And I won't do analysis for you because you're an INTP. You could probably do it yourself, but I'll give you the QRD on the subject. Basically, there are 4 different ways a person can view reality, or its fundamental mechanism, so to speak. And those are monism, dualism, idealism, and physicalism, also known as materialism. Oftentimes you hear someone complaining about materialism in science. That's what they're talking about. The ontological or metaphysical basis for a theory. Oftentimes an assumption. Oh, your theory assumes materialism. So that's a common complaint. So there's something for you to look into more. I hope that the light goes off for some of you like it did for me. I wish someone had made a video like this for me, so that's why I'm making it. Alright, just a second. Real quick, before I go, let me try and teach you the basic differences between monism and dualism. Okay, so let's say there are two opposing categories, and the categories can be really anything, but they generally fall under these categories. One is non-physical, also including like the mind, consciousness, stuff like that, versus the other category, which is physical stuff, or the brain, or the body. So in dualism, like a dualistic person views the world as they view these categories as having a separation. There's a dualism between these categories. So for example, they view the mind and the body as separate. They can be separated. So if they see someone walking over there, they think, oh, well, maybe they have a consciousness, maybe they don't. So maybe a body can be walking around without a consciousness, and that's one thing that dualistic people imagine. Or there could be a mind, a consciousness floating around without a body. So there's a dualism, or a separation between mind and body, or physical and non-physical. Whereas in monism, let's say someone views the world in a monistic way, they don't see a separation between the mind and the body. So in the context of death, whereas someone, a dualistic person, views death as something along these lines. Their body dies and their mind gets to leave their body and go somewhere else. They're okay. Whereas in monism, because there's no separation between the mind and body, the mind or consciousness is dependent upon the body in some way. So if there's a change in the body, such as death, then there's also some kind of change in the mind, whether that's an increase of consciousness or a decrease in consciousness. I don't know, but there's no separation between mind and body. And also, some people in this religion over here view their religion in a dualistic way, whereas someone over here in the same religion might view it in a monistic way. So those are some basic differences between monism and dualism. And if you could, let me know if I taught you anything. It would be great to know if I was able to teach you the differences between monism and dualism. And also let me know what your type is. And tell me, any opinions you have. Thanks. Bye.